Hey, what's up? This is Wake Up Israel News with Chris Judah. Hey, I got some news for you guys. A biblical storm like in 1993. Now, we just had the tornadoes in Alabama, right? Florida, Georgia, that killed 23 plus people. We just had the polar vortex that came back this week, the cold front, in the negative 40s and 30s that's going to be up in the northwest and the Midwest. Northeast and the Midwest. Probably the whole country just polar vortex. Um, that ice tsunami in Lake Erie. Now there's a cyclone. This brother right here talks about this, and every time he would say something, it will come to pass. He studied the weather. He studied the how you can watch the how you can track storms on certain websites and certain websites. He taught himself. He's pretty good. I mean, because every time he would say something, it will come to pass. So pay attention to what he about to say about this storm. It was just like in 1993, the one we had about almost 20 years ago, exactly 20 years ago, right? I'm sorry, exactly 16 years ago. Sorry about that. 16 years ago, all right? So let's see what he says. Now it's 11 minutes, but he's just going to show you the storm and how it's tracking, okay?
At 11:30 a.m. Mountain Time, 2019. Guys, we're here at windy.com, and you can see why we're here. The elephant in the room, this very large, low-pressure system off the west coast of the United States. It's been there for several days, as I've been watching that for several days, as it's been stationary pretty much. Hasn't really moved. This is a screenshot from nullschool.net from March 4th. And I was watching this clear into the latter part of last week. It was just sitting here, just rotating. Looked like a big hurricane, even though it's not technically a hurricane because it doesn't have the high wind speeds. This is officially a extra tropical cyclone, and that comes from NOAA, not me. The only reason it's not a hurricane is because of the wind speed. It doesn't have a collective wind speed that's equivalent to a hurricane or typhoon, so it's known as an extratropical cyclone that does have unique features. We've had them before. In fact, one back in 1993 was referred to because of its strength as the storm of the century back in 1993. We'll talk about that here in a minute. We've since had many major storms since that storm, but it was also an extratropical cyclone. What the storm is doing, it's making landfall here in California, Oregon. It's going to come inland. It's going to dip south, come into Texas, and this is where there's going to be a mighty clash in the atmosphere. Warm air coming up from the Gulf, colliding with the cooler air. This is primarily cooler air. It's got some rain in it, but not a whole lot. California will see, in some places, 1.5 inches, an inch. The elevations will see a significant amount of snow in the Sierra Nevadas, but again, that's not uncommon to see 3 or 4 feet of snow up there, but that's what they're looking at. Here's another look at this extra tropical cyclone. And again, it's not a typhoon or hurricane. It's simply a scientific term. They give these storms that do happen frequently. Sometimes they are overachievers, which this one here, unfortunately, does have the potential to become an overachiever, and I'll explain why. All of this is moving from the west to the east. As it gets closer to the central part of the U.S., it's going to turn and head towards the Gulf of Mexico through Texas. You can see right here this movement that's following the jet stream, basically. There's going to be a collision there that's going to generate some very unstable atmospheric conditions high in the sky above Texas, parts of Louisiana, Arkansas, southeast Oklahoma. That collision come this weekend, Saturday into Sunday, primarily Saturday and late Friday. There are going to be the possibility multiple tornadoes, large hail, high winds, especially in the state of Texas. The farther north you go, you can see this storm getting more and more organized or reorganized as it's crossing the United States. that's where it's going to turn into something quite significant. See these isobars here, the lines that are really close together? That represents high winds, and the purple represents snow, and a lot of it. Up in Minnesota, Wisconsin, you guys are going to see yet more snow, and that's not going to be the end of it yet. There's more on the way. The only reason I'm talking about this one is because we are basically around 72 hours out. These forecast models can and will change, but usually 3 days out, they're pretty solid. So back to Adventure Sky, what we're looking at here is the atmospheric stability, basically, on Friday, March 8th at 11 a.m. And you can see the conditions above Texas are very favorable for severe weather. This is what the atmosphere looked like above Alabama and Georgia a couple of days ago, and it wasn't even this intense. This is about as high as it goes on the charts, guys, as far as atmospheric disturbances go that are favorable for tornadoes and severe weather. Let me show you what the conditions look like over Alabama and Georgia on March 3rd. This is the same index that we're looking at, and you can see that the darker the burgundy, the stronger the atmospheric disturbance. And unfortunately, on the day of the tornadoes, which I'm not even going to talk about that, and I just want to say I'm very sorry to everyone that was involved in these tornadoes. They were not good, but you can see the lifted index, which is the atmospheric disturbance above those areas, and that's exactly where these tornadoes spawned. We're looking at the same type of scenario, the same type of setup right here in east central Texas and into Louisiana and Arkansas, and again southeast Oklahoma Friday and Saturday. Those numbers, those -3s, -6s, you're going to see -8s and 9s around Texas. In fact, at one point there's a -10. Let's see if I can find it right here. Screenshot.
This is an ad for a project management tool called Monday.com. This is what it looks like, and this is what it feels like. So the tool works like this. We call this a board. Just put everything you need to do here, then put who's in charge of it here, and see where everything stands here. Also, it works on your phone because it's 2019. Click, drag, and drop to create your board exactly the way you need it. You'll never drop the ball on the important stuff again. So go to Monday.com and create your free account today.
So we're here at our Millionaire Alliance event in Kauai at the St. Regis, and like all of our events, you know, we opened it up with some celebrations. We wanted people to check in and tell us what they've achieved and kind of, you know, tell us what they've accomplished since the last time we saw them a few months ago. We were just blown away by what people said. It just went, the depth of the emotion that people were feeling just went way beyond, I think, what you normally hear in this kind of a mastermind. The results that people are getting are life-changing.
This is the first month ever I've had $100,000 in my bank account.
I made $11,000 in January. To think that I would have to actually try to make $11,000 on accident now. Literally, I've made over $11,000 like just being here in Hawaii at Doran. This was your first time having $100K in your bank account for me too this month, and it feels so good.
Last month was our first 100,000 month, which is
in just I guess 9 or 10 months of the year.
This would be
sorry about
west
that.
of Dallas, the Fort Worth area. All of this very dark burgundy, that's -10. The chart only goes to -9. So conditions will be highly favorable for tornadoes. And ironically, this storm system that is forecasted here at VentureSky.com and weathercharts.com, they're all in agreement, is almost 26 years to the day from the superstorm of 1993. The storm didn't have a name, but it was a extra tropical cyclone. That's how it started. And you can see it turned into this huge.
I said 16, 26 years, my bad. But math a little off.
Storm system. And that's what this one's going to do as it makes its way across the United States. This is from 1993. We've seen these before since 1993, but back then this was referred to as the storm of the century. And you can see the similar features from the storm that we're going to be seeing here in a few days over the Midwest and with this storm here. Granted, this one here looks considerably larger, but this one hasn't formed yet. It's just forecasted to, but it's going to have a lot of inclement weather in it, all the way from southern Canada down into the Gulf of Mexico. And that's how this one was. Southern Canada all the way down through Cuba and into the Caribbean. I mean, it was a huge, huge storm. This is the first, the one over here on the left, that's the first of quite possibly two. And in 1993, this was referred to as the storm of the century. It spawned many tornadoes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 12.
He's saying it's going to be two storms like that back to back, if I ain't mistaken.
Right through here, courtesy of this, at the time, storm of the century. I think we've probably seen bigger storms than that now. The guy says another one coming, and if you're in the state of Texas, Arkansas, I made a little map here. Okay, here's a little map I put together for this weekend, Friday and Saturday, not Sunday, just Friday and Saturday. I don't like to go too far out because, again, forecasts can and will change, and hopefully this one will change. But right now, this is the setup, Friday and Saturday, especially Friday. This first purple circle you see, very significant snowfall and high winds, especially in the elevations. The possibility of tornadoes, large hail, and high winds Friday into Saturday. In the Texas area, everything you see in red, over through Arkansas, even into Tennessee, lower Missouri, lower Illinois, parts of Louisiana, about the entire western half of Louisiana, and far northwestern Mississippi, and all of northeastern Arkansas, actually including the entire state of Arkansas, pretty much. So if you're in this red zone, just know that on Friday and Saturday, conditions are going to be very favorable for tornadoes. We could be looking at another storm of the century scenario like we saw back in 1993 that originated from what the good guys and gals over here at NOAA are referring to as an extratropical cyclone. That's what you see churning right now out here in the Pacific Ocean. And this has been out here for several days. This is over here at Twitter. I just retweeted their tweet about this system. And you can see here from humannet.com, moderate to heavy rain and mountain snow late today. They're talking about today. This is an article dated March 5th with flooding possible because they're already dealing with flooding conditions up in Northern California. And that's where the majority of this rain is headed, to Northern California, but not to exclude Central and Southern California, as they're going to see in some places an inch, maybe a half an inch. Up in the mountains, you can see 1 to 4 feet, locally higher in some places. I did see an estimate that showed 60 inches down here in the central part of the Sierra Nevadas, just adjacent from, I want to say, Stockton, up in the elevations, quite possibly 50 to 60 feet of, or 50 to 60 inches of snow. But they're calling this big storm system out here, guys, a extratropical cyclone. We've seen these before. We'll probably see them again in the future. But look out, big heads up on Friday, guys, especially Friday into Saturday. And some of these could be after dark tornadoes, which no tornado is good, but when they're after dark and you can't see anything that's potentially coming your way, that kind of compounds the situation and makes it even worse. But this area you see right here in the Burgundy, this is Friday morning at 11 o'clock. Conditions will start to become very favorable for severe weather in this area. So just be ready, guys. I've been watching this for a few days. This is the storm system right here that's going to get caught up in the jet stream, and warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. They're going to meet right above Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, right in this area here. Thanks for watching. Have a super day, and be safe out there.
All right, there you have it. We are under complete judgment. America itself. All these floods that was going on out of the country 2 years ago. India, and it's still getting flooded with water, earthquakes and volcano eruptions. And Saudi Arabia getting taught the frame with flooding, all type of biblical. They had a story with Saudi Arabia that Miss Shayla was talking about, that water was coming from this hole, and as the water was coming from the hole, there was fire coming out as well. And I could do that from another, because it's a different story. But I want to share it with you for a minute. 2019 is just begun. We are a full 2 months in the year, about 6 days in the third month. And it has been biblical proportion storms in this country. We already know about Australia and Hawaii, like I said, Chile and Argentina and Brazil. It's flooded so much in Brazil and Argentina right now, it's almost like Hollywood. It's flooding so. I think Russia is under so much judgment as we speak, with flooding and it's different type of, locusts, like amazing stuff. And the Russian River in California is amazing. It's called the Russian River. It's flooded tremendously. And if you check out, I might just go ahead and do one right now on those. On the fact, on the end time event prophecies of what's going on with judgment in Babylon. And we talk about reparations and stuff like that. Now, Esau don't want to cough up reparations. He's going to have these Pharaoh Negroes. They say, stop begging for reparations. And the same Pharaoh Negroes is going to vote for Bernie Sanders, who that white boy got red as fire when they asked him about reparations. And he got his reparations as well for being an Ashkenazi Khazar Jew. So it's okay for him to accept reparations. See? But his people, a reparation for our people who was tortured and burned and hung in trees and fed to alligators, raped, castrated. It's not okay for us to get reparations, but it's definitely fine for everybody else, including his. We'll vote. We got Negro and black and men in our culture. I was voting. I'm not participating in voting again. Biblical reasons, but it's all a setup by the Most High. If you ever looked at Stephen Darby, I'm looking at him right now, about why it's so much racism, hatred towards our people, and there's a reason why. And they know who our God is. And for the Gentiles to know the truth, you understand where I'm coming from. But this storm that's coming, it's another storm. There's many more to come. And you haven't done right by God or his people. You call yourself so-called Christians, haven't done right by the Most High and his people. So, God is here. And on that note, this is Wake Up Israel News with Chris Judah. Like, share, subscribe. I'm an author as well, so I always put my books in the description. I try to, at least. I got a comedy book, health book, and a children's book for your kids, whatever. So, if you want to check it out, go ahead. But hope you have an amazing day. I'm going to do another video after this, all right? All right, shalom.